Yep, same.
Very well, we'll get our meeting started. This is the joint meeting for Northwest, Central, and Coastal San Pedro Neighborhood Councils, Planning and Land Use Committees. My name is Javier Gonzalez Camarillo, and I'm the chair for Central Planning and Land Use Committee. And we also have Robin Rudisill from Coastal online. There she is. Since there's not a lot of us, why don't we do a quick introduction just so we know who's here? We'll start with you, Adrian.
Adrian, Central San Pedro.
Alan Franz, Coastal.
Norman, Northwest.
Adele Healy, Coastal.
Joe Buscaino with the LA Cruise Alliance.
Rick Anderson, Central.
Elise Swanson, Coastal.
Sandy Olson from Carnival Corporation, and we're one of the members of the LA Cruise Alliance.
I'm Louis Hamil with Bermejo Hamil and Partners, that we're working with the Alliance and making the presentation.
So I'm Pamela Richardson, and I'm the realtor that has only one South Harbor Boulevard listed.
Okay,
Okay.
great. Thank you.
Noel Gould, Coastal in the background.
And Robin Rudisill, Coastal.
Great. I don't see you, Noel, but I hear you.
Like I said, I'm in the background. Think of me as a ghost.
Are you one of those guys on the beach scene right there?
Right.
I only appear on Halloween on certain years.
All right, great to have you. We're going to get started with our first item, which is a presentation by the LA Alliance regarding the cruise terminal proposal. And we have Luis.
Joe, are you gonna say anything?
Take us on.
If I can, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to be back with familiar faces. And first and foremost, on behalf now as a resident, thank you so much for your leadership and commitment to our neighborhood councils and what you do day in and day out. It's missionary work, as I call it. So I appreciate you being the eyes and ears on behalf of the neighborhood councils, all three here in San Pedro. The transition for me, as you know, I served almost 12 years on the city council, gave 30 years of my life to the city, worked at McDonald's Park, LAPD, and I was blessed to be elected on the LA City Council. When I left my term, I joined Ballard Partners, consulting lobbying firm. And today I was brought on by the LA Cruise Alliance, specifically for stakeholder engagement. And one of the first suggestions I made to the LA Cruise Alliance was to meet with our neighborhood council leaders. They are the eyes and ears. They have the pulse in the community. They are elected leaders through the neighborhood council process. So today, what we have done to date, we have met with the San Pedro Chamber of Commerce. We had a ship tour at the Royal Caribbean with other stakeholders, including PBID members, and residents, and they are here to present and hear from you on the port RFP that was recently put out on making improvements to the inner cruise terminal, as well as building out the world-class cruise ship terminal on the outer harbor. But we want to be in the forefront and hear from residents, stakeholders, neighborhood council leaders, businesses on what you want to see at both sites moving forward. As you heard, we have representing the Carnival Corporation, Sandy Olson, VP of Business Operations. And I think from my time spent with him, Luis, who is one of the best and brightest in cruise terminals. He's no stranger to San Pedro and the Port of Los Angeles. He worked for the Port of LA years ago, I don't know how many years ago, Luis, with the environmental impact studies on the port operations and the waterfront development. So with that, I'm happy to turn it over to Luis.
Well, thank you very much and really appreciate it. And let me first put this up on the screen so that everybody can see it and I hope everybody can hear me okay. If not, I'll stand up or get closer to it. So first of all, it does that we have not made any decisions about anything that is going to be presented to this proposal. Because we firmly believe and honestly believe that without everybody's input, we're going to get something that's not right. So, the concept of cruising in a community, which you're very familiar with because it's almost started here with the Pacific Princess, it's cruising is a very interesting business in that it has very high visibility in certain cities that are viewed as, you know, the cities that everybody wants to go visit. So there's bringing a certain cachet and so forth with it. But at the same time, it wants to go to very intimate places that are small, where you can easily create a lot of congestion. As a result, there's positives and negatives and everything. And what we found out that if you don't do this proper thing, you end up in the wrong place. And at the end, it's not going to be a good thing for anybody. So, and the cruise lines feel that way when they asked us to come in to help them come up and respond to this RFP. So what I want to take you to is just a thinking process of where we're at. And the idea is to invite your participation as we go forward. We have short time, but we'll explain it as we go along. So the port has been dealing with the cruise facilities here for years and years and years. And at the end, always reverted to the lowest hanging fruit. Let's fix something. So when they built the tent to resolve a space requirement, those tents usually are temporary and have been there for 20 years. The old terminal is the old warehouses from before that they added a second floor in the 1970s. And I guess for different reasons, every time they would develop a plan and said, okay, we have to invest a lot of money to fix things or to add things, the decision was made not to do so. So the port, I guess, figured out that they had other priorities, whether it's cargo or anything like that. And as a result, you have what you have, really fairly outdated facilities, which are not good for the guests or for the citizens. You're looking at a fairly unsighted facility, a giant parking lot basically on your waterfront. So the board has come up with this new unique approach to solve the situation, but it's one that doesn't on the surface doesn't make any sense. Normally, government tries to attract this kind of business, whether it's economic development, corporations, or tourism, and basically funds them to come. They create tourism boards, they create all kinds of stuff. Here they said, no, we really want you to come, and we'd like you to grow the business in Los Angeles and in San Pedro, but we want you to put the money in. So it's a very, very unique situation. And one that on the surface carries a lot of risk. But I'll tell you why it's a good idea right now. So what the port did, I'm going to get rid of this thing, has issued this RFP or tender to find a group that does two things, and then they're going to measure a third thing. They want a group that will bring business to San Pedro, that will bring those cruise passengers. At the same time, they want the group to invest hundreds of millions of dollars. This is not a cheap project, because time has taken its toll on the facilities. You gotta build them new, and now construction, you know, a $50 million pier now is a $200 million pier, just a pier alone. And then third, what they have asked as part of the RFP is, show us how this fits in within the community. How do you integrate yourself into the waterfront? So pretty valid things. They're at this point, they're not worried about, you know, where the bathroom is going or where the stairwell is going. Just show us a big vision of this project. So the cruise lines have come together for the first time in the United States, the three major cruise lines, to propose their solution. And there's a reason why they can, but they want to bring the ships and they want to invest in San Pedro and the waterfront, but they want to do it right. So if you were to focus everything just on the cruise terminal, you would get a couple of buildings, you know, very boxy things, and that's what you get. That's not what we're looking at. So they have created the Los Angeles Cruise Alliance, which are normally competitive companies. And in many ways, certain of the information that they provide, we're in the filter, so you know, it stays competitive within them. But they have the common mission of doing this project here in San Pedro. So it's Carnival Corporation, which is the largest conglomerate of cruise lines, which owns Cunard, Seabourn, Carnival, Princess, All America, it goes on and on. You have Royal Caribbean Group, which is Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and a bunch of others. And those two right now represent, between Princess and Royal Caribbean, represent about 80% of the traffic that exists here. Royal Caribbean has already stated they're upping the game. They're bringing in a brand new, latest type generation vessel. So by itself, they're proposing to bring the growth. More importantly, then a third company that is not here called MSC Cruises, and they want to start operating in the West Coast. They're not in the Pacific at all. So they're right now predominantly in Europe, and now they've really made a big push in North America, but in the Atlantic. And they have several brands, a new Explorer class and the MSC Cruises. And they also bring a big mixture of European customers to the community. So they all share the same value in this project, that at the end, a win-win is that you have community satisfaction, that you have guest satisfaction. That's paramount to all the cruise lines now. They want to make sure that cruise customers keep coming back, that they continue with their environmental stewardship, a lot of times you see a lot of things, but they're doing more in environmental stewardship than any other type of company in the world. They want the local involvement, and already they are really reaching out and participating with community groups. So the schedule for the RFP that the port had issued it on June 27th, the document. They had been saying they were going to issue it since last year, and everybody's been waiting. And the proposal is due on November 12th. So in that time frame is where we have to develop the proposal that's going to be set. And part of the proposal is, what is the vision? There's a part about how you're going to pay, how much you're going to pay them, and et cetera. That part comes in, but you got to create the vision. And that's what we're here to talk to you about. After the proposals are due, the port is going to take several months to make a selection. And then they're going to take probably 6 months. They're talking about negotiating the contract. So you're looking at somewhere mid-2025 to basically getting going. The port's old EIS has run out, has to be updated. That could take a certain amount of time, and then construction can begin in earnest. But the one good thing about it is, because of the method that is being executed, these companies will not put their name on a piece of paper if they're not going to execute it. So it's not just a plan that's going to say, oh, maybe if this happens. No, you got a series of companies that are bringing the business and bringing the money, and it'd be executed. So it's a great opportunity for some people. So they are, the development of the plan by the Cruise Alliance it's got to meet all of these guidelines. It's got to be benefit to everybody. Otherwise, what do you want cruise for? Just to see the ship? So it has to have community benefits. We believe with all the planning's been done on San Pedro waterfront, that we can fit hand in glove with those plans and add more value to it. Obviously, we need to modernize the facilities, and we got to create value in the community. So if you look at the cornerstones of the plan, and why we're here talking to you, and the RFP hasn't even, we haven't even submitted an RFP. Normally people will come see with the community after they've been selected and so forth. We really want to start this as early as possible. We've already had several meetings. So for the community, these are like have to work. It has to fit with your San Pedro waterfront and become an active part of it, a piece of that, one of the experiences that you have. And that those facilities then are usable for you. And I'll explain. That it has potential community venues for many things. We want to look at ways that we can break the fences and the gates that exist today in operations, that we can bring people to the waterfront and expose it so that people are just not riding up and down the street. Then on the commercial side, that open up business opportunities between the customers, the cruise lines, and businesses here, and to provide an economic impact. For the port is very simple. They want to grow the business. They want to attract more cruise business, and they want somebody to make the investment and pay them a fee. And that's what that number will be on about. Third, but not last, is guest satisfaction. What's very important that when a guest comes here, It's just part of the experience. This is fun and I want to come back. And finally, for the cruise lines is guest satisfaction is paramount. They're not happy, they're not gonna come back. Have an efficient facility, provide a growth platform into the future, and work with labor, government officials, environmental agencies to deliver what you want. So those are gonna be our 4 things that everybody's really focused. So why do they want to do this in the first place? What is the potential of San Pedro? Well, I think you all know the history that San Pedro was instrumental in the success of the cruise industry because that's every Sunday or Saturday, whenever the Love Boat, that's when I was playing.
A love boat.
And while they was being here and everybody, that was the ad, the cruise companies were so small, they probably couldn't advertise nationally at that point. They started building up in Miami. So Miami got the growth, but you guys get the PR. It's sort of a funny way to think about it.
Solid.
So, to grow the business is very simple. You need cruise lines that bring guests and sell them. You need to provide experiences and destinations. And then you need the home port and the logistics. And the home port is what we're going to be talking about. So why is it important? When you think about how the cruise industry operates and grows, it concentrates on businesses in places that they can reach destinations that are in foreign ports because they're all foreign flag vessels. So South Florida becomes the gateway to the Caribbean and to the Western Caribbean. The Northeast, Seattle, Vancouver, the gateway to the Alaska market. On the Northeast, New York, Boston, and Philadelphia now again, and Baltimore provide traffic into the Bermuda and into the New England market. And then lately, Galveston has taken off and now is a major gateway into the Gulf.
Oh.
What's missing? The 4th corner. So it's sort of obvious that, and what Los Angeles has the potential is that not only does it serve the Mexican market, but it also serves the northern market because in the transition, you're sending the ships back up to Alaska and all those markets. And that's how San Francisco gets its business. It's not because they're a hub there, because there's no place to go. So it's very important. What is also important is that you have the logistic part, you have the airports. Some of the largest logistic, the roads and everything to get people here. Even important, source market. Southern California is the largest source market for cruises. But because you don't have the business here, they fly other places and go. So, and why is that? Because your facilities and some of the downstream facilities are not up to snuff. So we got to start with the facility. And this, I just did this after our last meeting, I was sitting there and I started thinking, how have other of these corners looked at an investment? And these are new terminals that have been built in the last 7 or 8 years. I just pulled them out of my memory because we worked on most of them. Look at the number of terminals. Miami A, that's Royal Caribbean's terminal, $180 million. Miami B is NCL's terminal, $180 million. Miami V is for Virgin in Miami. F is for Carnival. That was like $100 and some million. MSC is building that AA, AAA, about $400 million. Port Everglades, Canaveral. Up north, Massport, New York, Brooklyn, Cape Liberty. Galveston, little Galveston in the last 5 years has built 3 terminals or finished build that are total about $500 million. And Seattle built Pier 66, they have 91, but they haven't touched that one, but they're gonna need to do it. And in your corner between you and San Diego in the last, fix a few things, but nothing much. So it sort of tells you what's happening. So then how do you treat a development like this? Well, you got to start with what is San Pedro, and obviously you start with your history, the relationship and the intimacy that a port used to have with its city, and this was the same thing in all the cities. You look at New York pictures and there's the boats right on the street and there's the town right there. And you came there to do some trading and that was the intimacy, that's the port. And then railroads came in, containerizations came in, and the city began to pull away from its waterfront. And here in particular, with the rail going in, and begins to separate it and created the modern San Pedro that you have. So today, then you happen to be surrounded by the largest container port in the United States between Long Beach and LA. So in many ways, you're like a little dot in this sea of containers. How do you create an identity within that little spire that's so important? So you have been responding with a lot of waterfront master plan, you know, following it and seeing it and so forth, and then you just released the connectivity plan. And the connectivity plan is interesting because it looked at different ways of connecting the waterfront from bicycling and recreational, commercial, all different ways of connecting all of it. But if you look carefully, it left those two bookends alone. So the connectivity basically relates of people moving within this ribbon along the road, not along the water. And we can change that. More importantly, with the cruise business coming in, stop now. The cruise business really gives you one level of connectivity that most citizens won't have. You're going to be bringing a lot of international guests. So you're connecting with the world. So it's a way to think about it. So what is this two bookends that the port has put out, the inner harbor and the outer harbor? What can we do? How does that relate to San Pedro? So for us, the two have to come together in one, community and cruise. You have to be supportive, and we got to be able to execute a plan that works. If we hit that button, then we are all going to be very happy. And that's the goal here. And that's why we want to talk to you and get your input. Over the few meetings, we began to sense, you know, how you feel about your waterfront and so forth. A couple of things just to note that a lot of cities want to have a very successful and vibrant waterfront. And they go to planning 101 and say, well, you're going to have access to the waterfront, you got a connectivity, and you got a different district. You can read it all, so forth. But then they begin to put stuff that everybody's doing in the waterfront, and we're losing the identity. So the goal here is to use authenticity. There's probably, besides all those old pictures I show you, nothing more authentic than cruise in that waterfront. So we have a history here and what can happen. And more importantly, it really does anchor a network of great waterfront cities. When you think about where the cruise ships are, whether it's Sydney, Australia, we even did a huge project in St. Petersburg, Russia, when before we went back into the dark ages again. Copenhagen, you know, every one of these major cities has basically attracted. So today we have outdated facilities, a site dominated by parking, traffic issues, and lack of integration. So people, it's hard to get over here. So it's not an easy problem to solve, but on the other hand, it's not rocket science either. We have to deal with navigation, and that's easy because the port has to bring the channels, and so we got to make sure the ships can get to it. Then integrate it to your waterfront. And then look at the issues that are troubling you, like parking. How do we limit that visual and access? We need to improve efficiency so things can happen more. We build in that connectivity goal as part of the plan. Then we get into the architectural distinctive use. And finally, what do you do with these facilities when they're not being used as cruise? So alternative uses are great because terminals are only used a few hours per week, irrespective of whether you're busy. The terminal is used 8 a.m. to 4 or 5 p.m. So you got a lot of time between cruises, nighttime, and a combination of those. So alternative uses that we've heard and that we've seen and that we've done: community spaces, indoor, outdoor spaces, function spaces, conference center, dinner, concerts, trade shows. It's great because some of these terminals will be large footprint plates, large span that you could turn easily into trade show space, or you can break it out into breakouts. And we've done this. These are pictures from some of the ones that we've done though. So how do we get to that? So I wanted to show you some case studies of that totally differ your perception of cruise as it exists here. So of all the waterfronts in the United States, the most recognized, the granddaddy, the one that everybody goes to is San Francisco. And the Embarcadero was created with two basic things: that give us a sidewalk 16 feet wide, here's a designer sidewalk, and give us that. And then the next thing is, we're not gonna prescribe it, but every 500 feet, we want something else to happen, different. So you ended up at Delhi Square, you know, Fish and Shore, very building, et cetera, et cetera. And at some point, the port had this old building that was using as cruise and said, we need a modern cruise terminal. And the site we picked is the one that everybody thought this would be great for a park. How do we put a park in a cruise terminal? So that's the Embarcadero where you see the people sitting there. So the main drive is here. There's the park. They wanted without trees, they really just wanted a lawn space. We wanted to use it and we purposely made the waiting hall smaller so that customers will feel like they have a need to go outside. And we work very extensively with security, Coast Guard and so forth to do something that has been done in other places before. So the ship is there operating, it's secure, it meets all the codes and so forth. And everything on this side of that fence is public. When the ship leaves, that fence disappears. And now you can walk everywhere. So everybody loved it there. It did not take very long to sell this concept. The building is predominantly in the architectural style that is reminiscent of what's there, a little bit of industrial. In fact, it's got a water recycling system from rainwater. We left the tanks outside. So when you walk in, you see tanks, and that's with the water recycling from the roof. So we're showing off the environmental features of the building and a few other things. A second project has been very successful. Seattle now has one of the most exciting waterfronts and the amount of money that they're spending with the removal of the highway. But that wasn't like that. You know, in 1999, when we did Pier 66, there was nothing over on that side. And that was decided to trigger the redevelopment of that area. So a cruise terminal was built at Pier 66, which included at that time a maritime museum, it has restaurants, it has a marina. And it's got a state-of-the-art conference center. And the cruise terminal then wraps around over the years, has been redeveloped. It's connected because of topography with those bridges where people can come across. The top of the roof is a park. Access to the visual is together. So it's a very elaborate, but well put together facility that is highly public, and it's right on Alaska Way. So the traffic is managed there, right there, you know, so it's got to work, but we block all of Alaska Way. Very successful. In other places and ports, this happens to be NASA. It was just finished, the redesign, and we filled in the land and created a park right there against where the ships are. In this case, they don't have a terminal because this is a visitation port, but just different ways of attacking. And then I want to show you one more urbanized area, and this is a project in Dublin, Ireland, in that the ships come into this old pier where the white building that you see there went. But where the bridge is, to the left of the bridge, that's the city. In fact, that's their big exhibition hall, the O2 Center, and hotels and so forth. And on the other side is the port. And so we decided, said, why don't we celebrate that as a Times Square, you know, that central plaza. And what we did is we turned the terminal inside out. So the front of the building is totally public space, and the terminal is behind, and there's the ship behind it. So when people drive, there is absolutely no difference between one side of the street and the other side of the street. It's a public space. And when the ships are gone at night, they can take the waterfront and extend tables out there. And that's not an original idea, because this is Sydney, Australia.
This is my hometown.
And for her hometown, the overseas passenger terminal, the picture's taken from the Opera House on the other side. And this thing is sitting in a really tight, compact space. And the idea that was great in that the ground floor, it's almost like a retail, it's all restaurants. So when the ship is in, they have similar gates here, but beautiful wrought iron gates. They close them, it secures the ship over here. And those restaurants roll down their doors and it's secure. The ship leaves, they roll up the doors and all the tables go outside, and it becomes a total. I think from our perspective, this is the group that can do it because, first of all, their expertise, their knowledge, their ability to do this. And I think if we all work together, we can create a new standard for cruise. We want our next term always to be better than the next one and better than the next one. That's what we're achieving. Something different. So we've had a number of meetings, and we've gotten a lot of great input. It's not all here, but we're taking it down. So develop facilities that can be used for community events, be flexible, integrated as part of the waterfront. One of the comments that we had a few weeks ago was a lot of stuff going on the other side of the street, development, new housing and so forth. Let's see how it can fit better. Then on the business side, integrate the opportunities for businesses to participate in economic impact, public access, traffic impacts, creating jobs, and any other uses that are important to some people. The people have mentioned hotel. We can look at that. The cruise industry is not a hotel developer. We could certainly build it into the plan.
Aesthetics as well, how it looks.
Absolutely. So the process is we got between now and November 12th, we really have a lot before to come up with a plan that you like. Normally, we're going through a competitive process. So somebody else that we think that this could be one or two others. None of them represent a cruise line at all. They're just professional port operators that will bid on it. And so we have to be very careful. We want your participation so that we can do it. So you're the first ones to see that because we just set up the website, so lacruisealliance.com, which we're going to rebuild on it. We just wanted to get it launched and provide a forum for people to provide input. And we'll give you the information so you can get it around to folks that want to do that. And we hope that we can get a lot of good input. But more importantly, we think from planning that we can identify with those traffic issues and resolve it. One of the things we learned today earlier, one of the meetings says, why don't you provide parking for residents to be able to come, not just old guests for cruise lines? Sounds like a great idea. Partnerships with many others, obviously the people that are already, that are already involved in this thing and the cruise lines. So our commitment is for us is to work with you to develop a plan. In whatever way it takes, even, as long as we respect the fact we don't want our competitors to know where we're at, because at the end of the day, we don't want, this is a competitive process. So the cruise line is committed to doing this planning, to make the investment. And it's more than just committing the money. Once they commit the money, they have to commit the traffic. Otherwise, it's just wasted a ton of money. So the other thing that's important, the three lines, even though they represent 80% of the business, there's still another 20%. There's going to be built-in safeguards so that everybody has an equal footing into being able to come here. It just doesn't mean anybody else. It's just everybody's going to be welcome. To them, it's important. Working with you all. And one of the ideas that was sounded around is that we'd like to create some sort of advisory panel or committee that would make it a little bit more simpler within the time frame we have to be able to get to the point of where we have a concept that we can take it. And at the end, the cruise lines just want a place to call home. So I hope that gives you a sort of a feel. We have been doing a lot of analysis and figuring ideas. I got a few of the architects and planners coming up with their own ideas. But for example, question is, okay, how do we deal with open space? If we decide to put a park and is it better out there? Is it better in here? You guys are better suited to tell us that. We have an idea. I think, okay, so you're gonna have a lot of residential here, better in the inner harbor, not on the outer harbor. If you want an impact, want a hotel? Where's it better in the inner harbor, the outer harbor? So there's a lot of different things that realistically we can come to a conclusion. Everybody says that makes a lot of sense. So, but we haven't moved beyond internal discussions. And so the cruise lines haven't even seen anything we've done. In fact, we've scheduled for about 2 weeks to be able to have something. And so the timing is perfect, but we have to move very fast because we have to, on November 12th, we got to have a program. Luckily, the port was smart. They said, don't give us all the details, just give us that vision. Because if not, we'll be spending, months here and developing. We know how a cruise terminal operates. We know we're check-in and we're baggage and all that kind of stuff. That's not about, that's at the end of the day. So
If I can add, this is the first time that you're seeing three major cruise lines coming together. Clearly, the competitors in the United States. And today, collectively, they make over 70% of the existing business here at our port complex. So, and over 80% worldwide from what I gathered today.
About 80%, yeah. So, and between the three, that they're the guys that are growing. They're the companies that are growing. And yeah,
Including MSC. We know MSC today as a shipping line, but they're an Italian-based company that is doing a lot of Swiss.
they're Italian, but they're, I'm sorry, they're.
They're
They're all Italian, but they're all in Switzerland.
in Switzerland, sorry.
Based in Geneva.
Oh, interesting.
So, yeah, so, and they've been back and forth a few times, and certainly, we'll make the effort to meet with you one-on-one, if you want to talk one-on-one, whatever it is that we can. And, so any ideas, any thoughts you have, we're all ears, and.
Well, I'm sure we all have comments to make. First of all, I'd just like to thank you for that presentation. It was very informative and impressive. So it's a very good start. And we certainly appreciate your coming to us and talking with other representatives of the port community. I have concerns. I'll limit my comments to two or three areas. Parking is an issue. I won't expand on that any further. But it is an obvious concern.
And if I could say one thing about that, so the port has identified 3 sites. 2 are under concession, 1 is not, they're keeping sort of in the middle. We don't understand yet how that's gonna work. So obviously they're thinking about parking somehow, but boom, heard it, yeah.
Okay, the second issue I'd like to raise is just in terms of your historical presentation, you mentioned that there was a history of cruise ships. And there is, but there's a much longer history of shipping and fishing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are historically really the backbone of the community. So I would hope that any interpretation of the port area recognizes those elements of the nautical orientation of the communities. And thirdly, you've referred a couple of times to parkland. And I would just urge something other than lawn for a wide variety of reasons. We have nice nature preserves in San Pedro and some rare species and vegetation other than lawns. You get more birds, more butterflies, more wildlife of various sorts. I don't think we're talking about a space big enough for bears and wolves and things like that. But most people like birds and listening to birds singing, and a lawn doesn't do that. And the generic stereotypic landscaping of stuff like palms, which are not native here. A lot of people are getting tired of palm trees and eucalyptus trees. Sorry about that.
I was gonna say.
Are you Mr. Friends?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were just talking about your knowledge about trees and about.
We met with the neighborhood council president, the sirens. He said, you got to talk to Alan about the native plants.
You're the gentleman.
There you go.
So thanks for volunteering.
It's falling.
Taking on all day eucalyptus.
At any rate, until we have more koala.
So we have koalas as well.
They're dangerous. They're on our campus. We're taking them down because they crack and they're not meant to be
Yeah,
here.
so
They're
it's a
fire
privilege.
hazards.
Yeah.
From fire, perfect too.
And I'll share.
No,
It's really interesting.
those 3 points are well taken, and we will, hopefully we'll be able to talk. I don't know if we're gonna get into the specific of an open space how, but you know, the fact that we're gonna sign it between now and November, but hopefully we'll be able to talk.
No, we understand your constraints.
Yeah.
So Ellen, can I ask you a question? And you alluded to, so parking, are you meaning parking in general for the cruise ship passengers? Or like you mentioned, there's been discussion about parking also for residents to come down and access the both or
Comprehensively.
comprehensive? Okay.
San Pedro has addressing the issue in one area without seeing the ripple effect in other areas doesn't make a lot of sense.
So the good news is there's a lot of land there that you can create. Bad news is we don't want to create big parking garages. And stuff.
Right.
So we want to do it sensitively, where either we hide them and so we're creatively. And the thought today, we're talking, I said, well, can we have some for people to just to go there, to be able to walk on the waterfront, some parking there?
Mhm.
And that will certainly take a look at and see.
Yeah, and again, for many purposes, there are ways you can use Mass Street, for example, to a remote location.
Sure.
And, you know, I don't think there's any specific blueprint that people have in mind, but just as the project advances, it takes into consideration the concerns over parking that have been
Mhm.
you know, central discussion of this community for
Many,
many years.
Yeah, any other comments?
I had wondered, and it's still, so it's kind of, chaining off of the outdoor space, right? I don't think a lawn is gonna really, you know, too much. But, you know, because if you think about it, you're doing the redevelopment on the other side of the street, you know, there's kids and people who just want to walk. They're gonna go down to the park right here and they're gonna, you know, use it as they want to. And then, so I just think like a little bit more, something more attracting, right? Trees or whatever, benches. You mentioned something that caught my eye was the tanks.
Mhm.
How does that come in? What specifically, how does that come into play? Like you said, you have them outside.
I can show you a picture and if I can find it, but we just along the facade of the building, further down from that area to just, you have the facade and then we built it out of the same material and so they're sitting there showing off and we're collecting all the rainwater and we're using it throughout, yeah.
And then the event space, right? So the actual terminal inside, which is, you know, have events, I think it would be very beneficial, right?
Mhm.
You know, what type of events, like major events have been done in some of your terminals that you've,
So the one thing you can't do,
right?
so we will,
I just want to know about the usage of it, right?
so for terminals, you could design it into chopping it up into different spaces, checking over here and this is over here. I think now we've learned long enough that the processes change so fast between the cruise lines, and you know, like now you don't need to go check in because you got a machine in your hand that checks it in. So you can just have a bigger room. So the idea of amalgamating the space into larger open spaces, maybe peripheral offices or whatever we need to do. So then, and they're usually long span and high. So it's perfect for
Like a convention.
trade thing. Yeah, so it's more for trade shows because conventions, they book in advance. The reason about conventions is they'll book, I need the space in 5 years or something. That's when people book. And so then you don't know what the itinerary of the cruise ships are at that point, but trade conferences, conference centers, and then parties and events and things like that. That you can fit right into, here's the schedule, you know, because they'll know at the beginning of the year, say, okay, I'm using the terminal this day, this is, and then if it's properly managed, a group can say, okay, I got all the space, and then how do we, so there, a lot of conferences and conventions, one of the pictures was San Diego, they did a little terminal on Broadway, and they use it all the time, it's right in the center of town. And so it's very good, so you can get creative in that, in Seattle, the conferences then evolve into functions after the conference.
Mhm.
So we actually, we built a kitchen and then they need another kitchen.
Yeah, commercial
Built two
kitchen.
kitchens and they're very, very useful
Yep.
for the community.
Yep, exactly. I mean, this community would like commercial kitchens. And we've talked to them about the fact that some of our nonprofits are booking events out of San Pedro now because we can't seat over 300 people. So we
You'd be
can,
able to sit, you could have at one of these facilities, 200,000 square feet.
yeah, you could,
Huge.
it's gonna be heavily, I believe heavily used.
And then if you design, you know, think about indoor, outdoor spaces of the two combined, so that events can happen. So you can have concerts and so.
Yeah.
Art shows, I mean, I just.
It is more for me the attraction of it, you know, that was more. But
So somebody mentioned to do something in the outer harbor, and say, can we put some sort of an attractor, you know? Or they mentioned climbing walls for kids or whatever, you know, so, but that begins to trigger. Like, what does that bookend over there look like, which is this bookend?
yeah,
And
like do the pieces fit?
Yeah. So something tells me that we've been watching this play out in a lot of cities in the United States that were cities that were sitting low levels of development, and now with housing needs and so forth, housing is going in like what you're having here, that you're getting block after block of housing. So Tampa, St. Petersburg, I mean, city after city. And what happens is the zoning codes allow them to build the entire block, so there's no open space. So you're sitting here potentially 10 years from now with 3,000 or 4,000 units sitting right in there and no open space. So then it changes the dynamics of what you need versus then what you're gonna need now. So whether or not the open space is active, passive, yeah, we can decide on what's the best and what's might be the most unique thing, but.
Notice the thing, Adele had a question.
Yes, thank you again for your presentation. It was so clear that it was truly unusual to have such a wonderful presentation, I would say. Where everybody understands. You spoke in, so it's easy to understand.
Thank you. My wife doesn't agree with me.
Is that?
What you say.
Well, there you go.
But I will tell her, thank you.
Okay. So my question, I have a couple questions. One is, since your experience with such a huge size, massive size project, what's the time frame, realistically, the time frame before we would see a ship actually departing from the outer harbor?
Well, right now, that some days, in the past, the port has used the outer harbor and
Yes,
they put a
indeed.
tent out there and,
Yes,
and so.
yes, the tents, yes.
So
indeed.
it will really, the bigger unknown, let's say that by the middle of next year, there's an inked agreement between the parties.
Okay.
Then will be the EIS will be the longest one. An EIS, because an EIS was done before, there's an argument to be made that maybe it's shorter because all you have to do is update it. Even though it's a new EIS. But in our opinion, if you have an EIS and the community's behind it,
Yes.
it makes it so much easier for the regulators to say, wait a minute, what argument could we have? Everybody's behind it. And we seem to move very quickly, in less than a year. And then you got the ones that get controversial and could take several years. But that's the one bugaboo. Once that's done, you could be under construction within a year, right after that. So what makes sense, and there's no decision here, but what makes sense is the outer harbor be built first. Because then that gives you capacity so you can come into the inner harbor and do what you got to do in the inner harbor. Because at some point in time, you got to take these facilities down. So if you start taking these facilities down, you have no place to put the cruise ships because the business will keep going on, and that's important to keep the.
Very important.
Yeah. So now do you do one in the outer harbor and then one here? To be worked out yet, so which one makes the most sense. But certainly at the end, the inner harbor needs a lot of work, The outer harbor is kind of easy because it's empty land. And so from that point of view, you could do a lot of stuff, but it's a much smaller site. Much smaller.
So what's your guesstimate? Like 10 years, 12 years?
No, it should be, it should be, I think,
This is San Pedro.
I'm gonna say, I could say it's a 7-year project.
Okay, so that gives the city of San Pedro time to up its game with hotels and maybe some higher end hotels that would be operational soon enough for the travelers to enjoy.
They have much.
If you're coming from anywhere, people could be coming from anywhere in the world. I mean, I've done to get on a ship, I've done all over the world.
Right.
So I look forward to having more international cruises leaving from San Pedro. That's something I think all of Los Angeles would like. And I see it as a wonderful, almost guarantee for success to our new harbor development and our downtown facilities.
Thank you.
And that's something we need to guarantee the success of the new harbor project.
It can be a win-win if people don't look at cruises as get out of the car, get in there, which is the bad experience type of stuff, into come to San Pedro and
One of my frustrations that even as chair of the Trade, Travel and Tourism Committee for many years, seeing the taxis at our cruise terminal taking our passengers away.
Yeah.
And not having our passengers stay
That's
another day, but we've come a long way here with our waterfront development. We're creating a there.
Mhm.
And this project can complement a destination of sorts where.
What Bellwether's doing, we need to get an update from Bellwether on present proposal, but yeah.
Well, I mean, the capital for hotels or whatever, when they see that this huge investment's coming here,
They'll,
that's gonna raise some flags, you know?
the land that's been sitting will be,
Yes.
if they'll, we need the game up for
We do.
the type of travelers I see coming.
I mean, we know that our guests want to go to places that welcome them,
Yes.
and that communities that do welcome them, you know, there's this sense it could be the tiniest little place, but if you get a welcome, then it just actually changes your whole experience and you move somewhere. And just thinking about Alan's sort of challenge about making sure it's authentic. Well, Elise has heard me say this many times before, but of the year and a half that I've had the opportunity to come to San Pedro, the welcome is part of what makes you authentic. It really is. So it's kind of like you're ahead of the game already, you know, because it is a community that does embrace. And I can see that, you know, I've sort of been listening to Lewis and I've heard him give earlier version of this. So it's interesting for me to see how he's developed it based on the feedback that you've got already. And how this terminal has that real possibility of being a source of great pride. So it's yeah.
Joe, do you have any, because you're in the know, any thoughts that if and when this project begins, that we would see some kind of rail or tram situation set up so that we don't have to have our Harbor Boulevard bumper to bumper certain times of.
Yeah, well, that's one of the concerns and issues that have been raised, the ingress egress.
Yes, always.
Of the passengers coming in and out of Harbor Boulevard. But rail, I mean, we're hopeful the Sea Line out of Torrance can use our existing right of ways.
Yes.
Rail to come down to San Pedro, something that we've been advocating for a long time.
And I do want to say Metro has reached out and Metro's closely watching what's happening here. And they have reached out and they would like to meet with everybody and get stakeholder input on the future of Metro. So that's very cool. So we just have to work with Javier on getting them scheduled.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's one of the big elements that,
Yep.
you know, we in the community are really pushing for, because with all the new developments, you know, terminals, everything, we need that transportation link to the, you know, to the city.
Yeah.
And that seems to be the missing link right now.
Fortunately, in the United States, transportation always lags development, always lags development. They wait until it blows up, it's an emergency, you know, so it's not the same thing in the rest of the world. You know, I learned my lesson in other places, I think, God.
To Alan's point, historically, we had what was called the red car line.
Yes.
That,
Yeah.
you know, planners back in the day got rid of.
Yeah, and you know, I
that.
think looking at the concepts, I have no doubt that you guys will do a great job on the concept. And, you know, the little details I'm sure will fill in, but as a whole, I think some of the things we've been talking about on the harbor has been parking, transportation, and particularly the inner harbor terminal has the potential to be the welcoming identity to the town. We did a survey recently where the community voted what were the things that were more important to them. And that was one of the ones that was voted the highest. Because as you come in, that's your entry to the port. So
In the world.
that for us, you know, that's an important connection that we would love to have something that would be
That you're right, that
welcoming.
gateway.
Yes.
And then Harbor Boulevard beautification, we
Yes.
submitted that to the PAIP process. Is that your connection? If you can do the gateway and beautify Harbor Boulevard, it just would be amazing.
Right, and then, you know, with the connectivity plan, the idea is that we would like so that people don't have to get in their car to go to another location. So for example, if the two terminals could work somehow to connect people back and forth without the need to move their cars, or somebody dropping them off would be great. Whatever system that could work.
Well, one thing that's interesting about traffic with cruise terminals. It's very intense, but it's really on disembark. And disembark people, That's the time that people just want to go home. They come back.
Yeah.
So typically, we design for that. The rest of the day, you can come and shoot a cannon at most of these terminals. There won't be a car going by and so forth, because you have a lot of time to do it. But the 2 hours in the morning, between 7:30 and 10 o'clock in the morning, 2.5 hours, 10:30, that's the busy stuff. Luckily, a lot of those, it doesn't coincide with events in the waterfront, because it's too early still, and so we can do that. And then what it focuses on, where are the bottlenecks? Clearly, when the intersection, Harbor Boulevard, with a truck's trying to make a left turn, it's a problem, and we gotta figure out how to resolve that. Where there is backups is when the facility's not properly designed and you got waiting taxis and, backing up, or it's a security gate is in the middle, somebody always sticks a security gate on the way in. It's like, why, there's even, if you want that, there's even technologies that allow you to move, things faster. So I think we can resolve a lot of problems. I think we can, and then to your, so that if you design it so that in one day it works right, you can then use that same capacity again another day that there's no traffic. So in the future, let's say in the beginning, you start with Saturday and Sunday cruises, which is sort of like now, maybe Friday, and many years from now, you could have business on Thursday and you doesn't impact anymore, just because of the same capacity. So it's sort of an interesting business that you can then grow once you have the basic facilities in place and you do it right.
And our ultimate goal, oh, sorry, Frank.
Can I access this report online?
This one, we will be putting it online. We just opened up the website about an hour.
Because I'm taking notes there, and there's just no way I can keep up with
No, we will provide that, yeah.
the massive flow of information.
Yeah.
And also, it was our intention, since we launched, to have a website up for community feedback. And Sandy, that is up.
Now, it will, as Louis was saying, we
put
got
up before
it
coming to the
live
meeting.
today.
We're live today, fantastic. So we'll be at the first Thursday, next Thursday, getting folks to come in, scanning the QR code, getting feedback. We'll be at Sirens across the country, among other events in the coming months.
If you do a digital flyer, I'll push it out through our e-news.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Terry's working on that.
A flyer,
Yeah.
I'll get that out.
We were gonna do some.
It's right now, it's a pretty
Well,
basic
yeah.
site. I'm gonna share it so you can see I just put it up. It's a pretty basic site, so you see what we're providing there. Here. Okay, so you got, the home page here, which. It's stuck in the middle here. Anyway, so it talks about who is the alliance, and then links back to each of the companies. It'll tell you what the process and schedule is, which a lot of it is controlled by, obviously the port. But if we wanted this to be a source of information for everybody, then what I think is important for everybody to understand what is happening. We'll start posting some of these articles. We'll start posting some of the other communities, what they're done. But one of the things I always ask the cruise lines is, give us all your environmental stuff, because they're all doing great things environmental, and they're really spending a ton of money on that. Then we're gonna have a comments section so that everybody can communicate, and then this is, we'll have surveys, we'll do all, whatever it is, but we'll keep adjusting. If you'll say, hey, I'd like to understand this better, we'll add it, so we can keep adding and modifying this thing, so that it's works for everybody.
The Alliance will be honored at the Grand Gremian Gala for their decarbonization efforts on September 7th.
Cool.
Yeah, it'll be really special.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for the presentation.
Thank you for your time.
Very interesting.
Very cool.
We're looking forward to have this happen.
We are too, so we look forward also to it, and we thank you for your time, really.
Yeah.
And just for some governance, if ultimately the LA Cruise Alliance would love to get an action item from this committee in support. I know we're also all preliminary right now, but just that will be our ultimate ask in the coming month or two as we get closer to submission.
And Joe, that's one of the things that we're trying to, I know some of us like get our arms around. Because 60% of the scoring on the RFP is financial strength. So it's hard because that's, you know, that's privileged information that we will never have access to. So that's, we will.
But you will, because financial strength, the two of the companies are publicly listed.
Point, but it's, I don't know what, I don't know what the port's requiring of you to demonstrate financially or.
They're
So-
audited statements,
Okay.
basically. It's-
Okay, but that's something
We
we
can share
can
that
talk
with you, we
about,
can
okay.
share with you what the RFP says and.
Yeah, I've read it, but I just didn't know from our perspective, that's something that's difficult for us to
Really, I didn't
weigh
know.
in on. I mean, we wouldn't weigh in on it, but we just know it's such a huge component of.
Yeah, well, we, at the end of the day, they want the partner that would build what they
Correct, and
say, and
deliver it,
then they'll
yes.
pay them what they say. So I think it's not gonna be as critical for this group as sort of, so it's gonna be whoever
Right.
else that might just be an operator.
Just,
because-
you know, we've supported a project that was not selected. So I mean, we've been down the road, as a chamber, not as a neighbor, but at the chamber, we've been down that path. So that's why I'm just trying to get my head around it for this one. So I didn't know.
Where I think we as community leaders, right, trying to help people with the port and the raiders. Pick an option that's gonna be better for us to live with, right? You know, I now understand, I met with them at lunch too, and so understand the financials of
Right.
one of the other, you know, likely competitors. Didn't look up the third potential one, so I now feel that as long as they've got the capacity, right, to actually build it, that they're not gonna pick anybody that can't build it, so.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I agree.
But, you know, I felt differently when we spoke just
Yeah.
yesterday, right? So
Yeah.
As I've
No, it should
delved into
be.
this better, I think, you know, what I heard is this visioning. And, you know, what I was gonna share is because of PAP, you know, thank you for helping that, and thank you, the current council member, for codifying it, for this group, for advocating that we use that, like the Wilmington Waterfront Park, right? We're doing pretty well with parks, I hope, right? And we're listening to you on how to do them better. But I think, you know, the advantage of this compared to maybe the lower cost option, right? Might be just, you know, facility, if you're listening to the, not convention, the conference space or those things where, you know, parking issues can be solved. I think, you know, that could really help, you know, if we all agree this is a better way to go, to help those raiders see that, you know, for a few, you know, a couple $1 million a year savings, is that really worth it if you're gonna have a less functional? Like, think of all the other benefits you'd have, because we do have some of the groups, as they get bigger, they're not easily able to be accommodated here. What's the actual economic benefit of that? That won't be on the bottom line of that RFP, but we can try to amplify there's better, you know, return for San Pedro in this surrounding area, so.
Again,
So thank you.
that I've sat on your side of the equation, sitting on Singapore, for example, the selection of, at that point was an operator. And it gets pretty sophisticated because people are pretty smart, you know, you got people that said, oh, I'll bring you 20 million passengers. Now, it takes somebody with experience to say, it's no way, but everybody else in the committee says, wow, these people, they don't, there's no way, you know, well, whatever, the number was so absurd. So therefore, we're gonna pay you so much per passenger port. And they thought, oh, we're gonna, said, if that number's bad, you know where you're gonna end up. So it can get tricky because there's some. With these guys, no, it is what it is, because they're they have to bring the customers
Right.
to satisfy that, and so.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting part, that I think, you know, it's not just an operator, but you're vested on the business itself. So you know your customers and how to provide the service that they need. And I think that makes it more, it makes it better that we'll get the best output of that. As opposed to somebody that's just making it as a business for operating their terminal.
And the port at the end will have say, because this is a concession of the port, and the port's gonna put safeguards on this stuff. You can't do this, you can't do that, you gotta come to us, you know.
So it sounds like, you know, I didn't hear this earlier, that, you know, if Disney wants to come back, somebody else wants to come back, right? That it's gonna be open, so like with the airport, right? They can
exactly.
still come, and those that lament Disney leaving, right? They're more likely to come if we've got a better, you know, facility in this. And I think part of the problem too was like Mexico's not as safe for, you know, but, you know, as this improves, that could give us, you know, more choices and more jobs, more opportunities. So, that's a part too. If people like this, you know, make sure you're promoting it. It opens it up. They're not trying to monopoly and it's only the three companies involved. But I'd have to say, knowing the three companies, I'm gonna trust the business they think they would give more than a third party that has to solicit them to provide traffic.
Thank you, Joe.
I just had, yes, thank you. This question is for Javier, or I'm not sure, maybe Elise would know. Have you been contacted by the other two competitors or
We've met with one other competitor.
one other? Oh, you've met. Were they interested in doing a presentation?
Yes, they would like to come and meet with the neighborhood council. They've reached out. I just have to work on scheduling.
Oh, yeah, because we don't have maybe a special meeting. I mean, if the decision is in November. Is it?
So if you want to have a special meeting, or they said that they would be interested in coming in September. So it's just up to all of you, how you want to handle it.
Okay. Well, our meeting in September is always at the very end of the month.
Right, however you guys want to schedule.
Okay, so you have that, I mean.
We didn't want to do back to back.
No, I
We knew,
understand.
you all have your
Yeah.
own plans and information, so.
Yeah, but yeah, we could look into either the September special meeting if
Mhm.
needed.
Mhm.
If I can put on my resident hat, be a sponge. You have an awesome role and responsibility. Talk to everyone this is a game changer for us here in our town. Clearly, I'm biased, but the fact that these are major cruise lines that want to continue to invest in our hometown. But yeah, talk to everybody. Do the due
We
diligence.
were contacted by all the others. And we
Yeah.
chose-
I like that.
No,
Joe.
and we
It's
chose
fun.
to have this.
Right,
We put
we
together-
have
we were-
to know, to have an
We
understanding.
know the whole.
That's worth.
But our good friends, so.
Well, thank you so much, and I guess
No,
we
really
will
appreciate
be looking at your website
Thank you.
and following on the process.
Thank you. And then, yeah, we'll be putting more stuff every day on it, we just.
So good today.
Want to get that out there, so we'll.
And make sure it's just a report. I'm thinking.
To be accurate.
Absolutely, we don't mind sharing with anybody, including our competitors, but this one it's.
Well, it'll only be for me, for Ryan.
No, we can share with your competitor. They're gonna look at your website.
That's right.
They'll be on your website, but we won't share it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right, I will not share.
We'll put a section with a password and then we'll,
There you go.
they'll give you the password, so you can get it. Just small.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Well done.
So,
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well done.
thank you.
Safe travels.
Very good.
From where?
Oh, it's right up the stairs, right up the stairs.
You can get there either way.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go on to the next item. Let's,
So a little bit of housekeeping. So do you want me to give you the contact information for the other individuals or companies that are proposing and then?
I
you reach out to
have-
them, or how do you want to do that?
some information that Diana forwarded.
Okay,
but-
I gave it to
but,
Diana. Yes.
Maybe
Okay,
copy me again on
Yeah.
that because I want to make sure we have it.
because
We'll get together with Robin on
they're all
that.
very sophisticated presenters.
Okay.
They're all, so, they all have a different perspective.
So one or two you think we'll have, like, do we need a special meeting because there's two more, or do we think it's just the one?
There's three that.
Thank you, Louise.
There's three that seem to be,
Main,
yeah.
okay. So if we do one
Yeah.
meeting, I mean, maybe September, October, unless they want to do a special meeting.
Experience, they're only.
I do it in the regular meetings would be my preference, but if
Yeah, no, I think unless they require it,
Yeah,
I will not offer. Certainly the.
I think they said whatever worked for,
Okay.
for all of us, yeah.
So Robin, maybe we can work on seeing what the next.
So Robin, are you chairing in September?
Am I, Javier, I forget. I have it written down somewhere. If he's
yes.
gonna be gone too, yes.
I'm gonna be gone in September, so fortunately Diana and I will be out for September.
Okay.
And we could go over the meeting information ahead of that. Diana gave me the contact, so we could work on that.
Okay.
Very good. Let's see. So we're going on item 3, which is the update on the One San Pedro, Elise.
Yes, okay, so super exciting, and I just want to thank all of you for the letters that went into the planning department and the mayor's office. We have a public hearing for One San Pedro. It is Wednesday, September 18th. It's a virtual meeting. It's 9:30 in the morning, and it is a review for hearing for the specific plan. Super exciting to get to this point. So just thanks to everybody for pushing and the letters and the calls, and we got a hearing.
Yeah, yes.
I know, super exciting. So I know Doug said, Robin, that maybe the 3 neighborhood councils could put in, what did he say? A statement that, so you can get the maximum amount of time to speak. Because if he said, I guess if you put in community impact statements, then you get 5 minutes.
Oh, I don't know if it's 3 or 5, but it's a lot more than everyone else.
It's a lot more than everybody else. Yeah, so that, you know, if we could coordinate that, that would be amazing, just so we have. I think it should be pretty positive. I haven't heard of any rumblings or anything, but just, you know, but I just think that, you know, we just want to make sure we have support.
Yeah, I would be very surprised if
Yeah.
it's anything.
I don't think so.
unusual. I mean,
Yeah.
I think everybody's very
I
supportive.
think after all these years in vetting.
We just
Yeah.
want to get it done
Yeah.
and get going on that.
And that's probably, you know, I mean, Robin, you're so experienced with this, but that's kind of my message. Let's just get this done.
Yeah.
So let's expedite it and get it done.
Yeah, I think that was the reaction of everybody when,
Yeah.
you know, we proposed the letter that
Yep, yep.
it would have delayed the process
Yeah.
and thrown it into a list.
So I sent the meeting notice out to our chairs, and yeah, we can get that out to everybody, all the committee members, and it's so
Great.
exciting. Mhm.
Excellent. Yeah, I had seen the comment because Diana mentioned that. And so I kind of had an idea of what was going to happen, but
Yeah.
it's great to hear.
Yeah, no, it's confirmed, scheduled, it's exciting.
Excellent. Okay, so we'll move on to the next one, which is something we've been talking about, the vacant lots around town. There's a couple, particularly the one on Pacific and 14, which it seems to get worse every day.
So, yes.
And then there's another one on Harbor.
He's very I'm gonna be very careful. They're very frustrated. They have filed no trespass with the police department. They've been working on removing homeless. They've been repairing the fencing, but what they've said is because of the activity that's moving up and down Pacific, it will be an ongoing chronic problem. So now that Mona is past Pride, Mona was going to meet with them to talk about a proactive approach to removing what is there. We've met with Officer Ike about the homeless that's on there. But the property owners are very frustrated. It's been a long process for them, and they have lost their patience, just like the community's lost their patience.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know if anybody has any recommendations here, because it may not sell, it may not be built for 2 to 3 years.
unfortunately, I think that
Yeah,
that's the problem. That's what's gonna happen.
What they did in my neighborhood, and I live around North Myler off of Summerlin, and there was this place, this lot on Gaffey Place and Elberon. They filled up for trash for years. I'm glad Joe is gone, because nothing was really done until McCosker came and heard the neighbors' complaints, and there were quite a few. I mean, the trash was just disgusting.
Right.
I mean, disgusting as you can imagine, much more disgusting than 14th and Pacific. But what they did is they finally took that stuff out and put up a fence, a very high, sturdy metal fence. And it would take, some of these people, it would take quite a bit to get in. I mean, you could actually chuck stuff over, I guess, but they need something stronger than what they have,
I don't know if this individual has a lot of, I'll put.
Who pays for that?
That's what he's gonna ask me.
It's not
No.
private property. It's not something the city's
Yeah.
gonna take on.
Yeah, so, but there's a lot of conversations that are going on with the individuals that own it and, I don't know, well, I don't even know what to say. He's frustrated too.
Yeah, no,
More than frustrated,
More than frustrated.
angry, and he has every right to be angry.
Very angry.
you know, I realize there's outside factors that are not within the control of the owners. But as a community, we want to make sure it's a safe place and that it's, you know, secure so that,
So they
don't have any issue.
repair the fencing and bolt cutters are used to blow right through the fencing on a regular basis and get into the property and it's you almost need to put somebody there on site in a guard shack. I mean, that's what they're
And that's
doing.
what
Yeah,
officially
and- you know, it's interesting because, on a similar situation where I was working with a client that had a property, it got burned because people moved in. As we were getting ready to renovate the building, they got in again, burned it down to the ground.
Right.
So now they're looking at an option as to how to use the property in the meantime while whatever project gets done there. So that it's not necessarily vacant, and maybe that's an option that they could do. To come up with either some kind of use, even if it's just parking. That could make use of the property without having it abandoned, because if it's.
So they're gonna ask who's gonna pay for it, because they paid out a settlement to a nonprofit group. So they've already paid out cash to somebody, and I don't know.
Well, all I'm
Yeah.
saying is there's gotta be a way that, you know, the property could be protected without being empty for 3 years.
group would be willing, since it's a nonprofit, give it back to the community.
Could be.
Has been lobbying for as you know, for the black material fence cover to be removed. Because
Yes.
that's a magnet for tagging.
So here's the problem, it's dust control.
Yeah,
So I don't.
I knew that, yeah.
Yeah, so I know what he's saying. So what some folks are doing is they're spray painting clouds onto the Mona's done it on.
Half of the fabric is gone anyhow, so now it just adds to the blighted look.
Right.
The community has endured for how many years because of the nonprofit? Give back. You got money? Let's give it back to the
Give it back to
community. Isn't that what a
the
nonprofit is? Not to line your pocket with money.
No, this is a tough one, and I just know Officer Ike has been working with the owners, and I don't know what to say.
Yeah, he's annoyed, and who can blame him?
Well,
And
the other property that is a very visual issue is on Harbor, on a Farrell and Harbor. It's the weeds and plants are, overgrown. The fence is falling apart on several places.
Council office Amanda was working on that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And, it's obviously right in front of the cruise terminal, so it's in the worst location, not that there's a good location for that, but I think unfortunately it's a visual nuisance. But I think it's also a safety thing because, like I said, the fence is not.
Yeah,
You got run over, somebody ran through it.
Yeah, and with the weeds, I mean.
I know. We got them cleaned up for Fleet Week. Whoever owns it, maybe the council office, I'll ask Amanda who they found, because they cut the weeds down for Fleet Week. So I will check on that one too. But I'm gonna let other people reach out to Martin Cully and Adam O'Neill, because I've done it, and I just feel that other people need to hear the story.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the carrier anymore back and forth with messages between.
No, and I don't think don't want to put the burden on any particular one.
No.
I think we want to be able to work out a way that we can kind of achieve both things, securing that property and for them to
Right.
be secure. And, it's interesting because as I was doing some research, I found that there was actually a vacant building ordinance property that the CD15 made a motion last year
Right. And he did take down
Yeah.
the building, he did take
Yeah.
it down.
But also it applies to vacant lots too, so.
Okay, I don't know. Adele, you want to talk to him?
Oh, no, no, I have too much empathy. I really am serious about this, this group. That, if it's a nonprofit, what are they doing with the funds? Where do the funds go?
No, I don't know.
I don't.
The funds used to reimburse the people, Alan, do you know anything? Where they to reimburse the people who
Maybe the attorneys.
contributed to the filing, et cetera? Or was it a pro, filed at nothing?
I don't know. I don't.
Well, who knows?
I don't know, what's the
We
address?
need
I
to
want to drive by
relook.
this, I'm not familiar. with it.
1309 West Pacific Avenue.
We need a little transparency. I mean, what's the cover up? Whenever anybody wants to cover anything up, it's because there's something improper going on.
Yeah, I just know that after my last conversation with Martin last week, I'm gonna take a break.
Yeah, it's fair.
They might look into an armed security too, because you have a live person there. I know they've done that to the
They're
Albertsons
not gonna do
that
that.
I shopped at, that I shop at. They did that to the Rite Aid, there at Fifth Street and the library. You go in the library, they have a chief security.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it
to
might
prevent those
be,
people from, congregating there, the homeless people and other undesirables.
they might need to provide some kind of lighting at night.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't, LAPD's fully aware of what's going on the property. The owners went down to Harbor Division, filed the no trespass paperwork. They have said, anytime you see somebody on there, call LAPD. There's no trespass ordinance.
But there's no extra patrolling.
No, I mean, it would be LAPD. There's no private security patrolling the lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming, not front security, but like the police itself going.
But that's a low priority for the police. They don't respond to that immediately. They have other. more
But even
important
if you're
issues.
patrolling though, you can.
Yeah, well, that's true, but how often do they patrol there?
We need to do it daily,
Right.
Yeah.
routinely, because, I mean,
Yeah.
they take an opportunity and they will get it.
Yeah.
I
And
don't know how much a security guard would cost, but at least to be a person there, and like you mentioned, some kind of lighting and maybe a little
It's-
guard shack with a fence might do it.
$30 to $40 an hour.
let's get a couple.
And he's not gonna, and then you have to do it on
Lion.
the other side also.
Well, I think we just need to find a way to, work with the property owners, but also to,
I mean, he's in
Security.
Central. Do you want to call and talk to
I
him?
would not mind.
Okay, I'll give you his contact information.
I'd be the new guy, so.
Yeah, I'll let you talk.
Sure, give me the information.
I will, I'll do that.
Reach out.
Hmm.
But anyway, those are the major properties around town, and there's little ones here and there that, we also could work on.
I know, you're right. I mean, it's very depressing. The blight is very depressing.
Yeah, and then, like the one at the entry on Gaffey, that project that never happened. Now it's just, growing weeds. Yeah.
To pretend we're gonna do something here.
Well, they left some equipment there and then they left.
Oh, my God. Nick's-
They moved that digging machine a little bit.
I think that's for sale, that piece of land.
I'm sure it is.
And even the one downtown where was it? The Nelson or something?
Oh, Nelson Way, that owner passed away. He lived in Singapore, he passed away. That's a whole mess. And PBID's been working on that one, on taking that down, yeah.
We don't need an 18-story building.
Well, I guess it's a good thing they didn't build that right.
It's his Bill Cochran's cleaning the weeds on the courthouse property. We got him, we walked it with him and he's gonna be doing weed abatement shortly. But yeah,
Okay, Very good.
nicknames Roundup, so they're all complaining.
Oh, vinegar and water, or straight vinegar.
Okay, all right.
right, well,
But I'll send that to you.
great. So the next two items was Jason, and we don't have Jason present, so.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to talk about that. Diana included some items of interest to the committee on the list, on the agenda. Don't know if you guys had a chance to go over them, but
Yes.
I think some of them we just talked about, like, for example, the the Rancho San Pedro hearing on September 18. Proposed building up for sale again.
Okay, so I've been asked to make a public service announcement. The Topaz building is not for sale. The current owners are proceeding with the residential conversion.
Oh.
Yes, so somebody saw something on LoopNet, but it appears it was not accurate. It had to do with leasing, not sales. So I just wanted, I told the Topaz team I would clear that one up.
Excellent.
Residential, excuse me, I'm sorry.
They're doing a residential conversion, and actually they might be interesting in the future to bring in and get an update on that project.
Apartments or condo, what's a
They're
residential?
doing apartments, some ground floor commercial and apartments
That's
above.
5 years at least.
Yeah, they're gonna start construction in January of 2025. That's the last I've heard, but they would be interesting to come in.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see it. I saw a similar thing happen in the building in Pasadena that was
Yeah.
office conversion. It turned
Got
out
some great
actually
views.
very nice.
Yep.
So
Met with LADOT today on the parking study, and they are doing they're doing data collection right now. They've put sensors in downtown, and they're doing gathering the data for the consultants when the consultants are selected. So they're moving right along on that.
The other thing she said, fountains anticipate a grand reopening scheduled for October 3rd.
Would you say that again?
The fountains on the
Oh,
harbor.
yeah.
reopen.
That is exciting, putting that on my calendar in ink.
Yeah, it's been
It's gonna happen.
quite a while.
So that's first Thursday in October, they're doing that.
Yes.
Yeah. That's gonna be great.
Is there a time?
I'm sure we'll find out a little more as we get closer, but I would imagine in the evening to make it more.
Yeah, with the
dramatic.
lights, yeah.
With the lights and everything.
I still have it going, sometimes you'll see it and then, 2 or 3 would, kind of shoot
I think
out.
they're still testing. Supposedly they were missing some parts, but I guess they got them all together now. So,
If we're going
Great.
to Mars.
Other stuff, Jedi Zone moving forward. City approved $3 million
Yep,
to select a
exciting.
contractor to manage program citywide.
Yep.
Which is
Very
excellent.
exciting.
Talk about parking studying. What was the item? Amanda Enriquez is the CD15 liaison to the Mayor's Olympic Committee. Questions and suggestions may be directed to her. UDH will be hosting some of the preliminary competitions for soccer, tennis, baseball, and cycling. Mayor's office is looking for potential location for practice sites. And Metro is proposing a dedicated bus line on Vermont for the Olympics. So
Cool.
that would be great. Maybe that's.
You guys are tennis fans. I'll just throw on the DH inside. We found out last week that our president signed a multi-million-dollar deal with the American Tennis Association. So in preparation for the Olympics, not only will we have the wonderful stadium we have, but we're now building a whole bunch of additional courts. And we're hoping to really develop the tennis youth here, in Carson, but, benefit those in as well. So but should be exciting to see folks. If you want to see the cycling and the tennis there, it'll be good.
So Javier, what is these initials? California United DH?
Oh, that's a typo. That should be CSUDH.
Meaning what is it?
Cal State,
California State,
Dominguez.
Dominguez Hills.
Dominguez Hills.
Dominguez Hills.
We're at work on Victoria.
Okay, Dominguez Hills, got it. Well, it's not exactly next door.
No, it's just.
What do you try? We have better public transit. We're also, because of working with the transportation, we're gonna get a much better bus center and it'll be a little bit easier to get to.
So you're gonna have a bus center at Dominguez Hills? That's awesome.
Perfect. Great. Okay, so other comments on items not on the agenda. Anybody has anything they'd like to bring up? No? Very good. And our next meeting will be Wednesday, September 25th. And unfortunately, I won't be here.
It's all up to
Robin.
Robin, up to Robin.
So Robin will
Okay.
conduct that meeting.
And hopefully Noel will be out of the background.
Yeah, we heard his voice, that's all. Great, well, thank you, everyone, and we will conclude our meeting.
Anybody seen photos from Diana or Pat?